Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside the Forest. Dave Cottingham here with Hannah Burr. Good evening. How are you, Hannah?
I'm doing well, and how are you?
Doing well. We are back for another episode of Inside the Forest. Got a lot of news to talk about this week, and not really huge news, just some little things that's been popping up at these conventions.
Yes.
You know, we'll try to offer up our final thoughts on the Acolyte, which ended a couple weeks ago. We've had a couple weeks to marinate. Have you even watched it again?
No.
Me neither.
That says anything.
No, it doesn't say anything. And then we got a first glimpse at the Skeleton Crew.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that a little bit. But first and foremost, of course, thanks to our patrons. Thank you so much for your support. We recorded our Rogue One commentary last week. If everybody checked that out, go to youtube.com/InsideTheForce. It's there. And we had a couple patrons join us on that. Not as many as we'd like, but I know the time was a little. I am going to try to figure out a better time. We've got 6 commentaries left to do, so we'll try to find some better time for that. Get as many of you guys on there. But yes, thank you for joining us on that. And I felt like it was really good discussion we had for that movie.
Oh, I definitely think so. I think it was solid. We talked a lot. I think we went in depth a lot, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Which was great.
Yeah, it was, because I know we both have our differing opinions of that film.
Yes, we do.
But, we expressed what we liked and didn't like about it. So, but I'm a big fan of it. And on that note, well, let's see. I'm going to go to comments first. Let's see.
Okay.
Comments from our last episode, which was a couple weeks ago when we did the big episode on the finale of The Acolyte.
Yes, we did.
Let's see. So we'll first go to, let's see, we got Thrawn saying, Yoda is no stranger to hiding things and covering things up. He covered up something huge in the High Republic novels and literally waited until he was on his deathbed to tell Luke Vader was his father. And there's nothing, and there is another hope, being Leia. Slight cover up there. Yeah, I can.
Well, that's a good point.
Well, I think it's, holding back the truth might be a little bit different than lying, right?
I think they're both lying.
You think they're both lying?
I think holding back truth is the same as lying. That's just my opinion. Now,
so you don't think holding back the truth sometimes is protecting?
I didn't say that.
Okay. But you said holding back the truth is lying.
Holding back truth, I do think, especially if you know that the truth you're holding back, I think it all depends on intent.
Sure.
So if you're holding back but I still believe, even though it depends on intent, if you're holding back the truth, like if someone said, "Did you eat the cookie?" And let's say it was a chocolate chip cookie, to hold back the truth, it would be like, well, no, that's a horrible example. What's a good example of holding back some of the truth?
Well, the whole holding back the truth is that, let's just say you see you're out with people at a store, let's just say, and you see somebody steal something. Do you tell anybody?
Absolutely. It's the right thing to do.
Okay. I mean, that's
okay. Holding back.
That's being honest, right? But if you know the truth, and not just here's the thing, If it's a stranger, obviously maybe, but if it's someone you know, let's just say it's someone you know, or you're out and you see your best friend cheating on their boyfriend with somebody else.
Oh, I confront them. I immediately march out to them and say, "What are you doing?"
Okay. Some people don't, because sometimes some people will say that's none of your business.
Now, here's the I would agree
So
with that, but I also do believe accountability is very, very important, especially if it's your best friend. Now, you might not.
it doesn't have to be. Well, the level of friendship shouldn't matter, but
No, but
I
I'm
get it.
saying, but that's just me. I hold my friends accountable. If I see my friend cheating in public, I might not go up to them directly in that moment, but when we're alone, or I will text them and just go, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. Okay. So
That's the type of friend I am. I hope.
yeah. So that's like that's, I think that's knowing something. So like you're knowing, if you know something that is definitely going to possibly, because we'll bring it back to Yoda. Like if he always knew, obviously, that Anakin was Luke's father.
Yes, and he always, there were two of them.
But Luke never asked him, right? So he never lied about it. He just never told him, because telling him would probably send him down the wrong path, which ultimately it pretty much did. And Luke had the strength to not give in, because he was basically turning to the dark side when he was fighting him in Return of the Jedi. So, Yoda and Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan lied.
Yes, I don't believe the whole, well, it depends on your point of view.
No, I don't believe it. He lied because he wanted to protect Luke. I get it. But he did lie to him, which to me, Yoda did not lie to him. Yoda just kept the truth in order to help shape his training without that burden of knowing who his father was. Now, because I believe if he would have asked him, I think he would have told him.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say, it's like teachers. Teachers purposely don't tell their students the answer because they want their students to learn. So I would equate that with this.
Yeah.
I would. But why would Yoda then hold what they did in the Acolyte a secret if she truly came to confess to him?
Well, here's the thing: we don't know about the Acolyte. So
we don't know.
What Thrawn is saying is that he covered up something in the High Republic novels, which I haven't gotten there yet.
I haven't gotten there yet either. So now I'm like, what the hell?
So I'm curious, Thrawn, on how big that is and what exactly. And it's okay if you want to message us on Patreon and tell us, because I think I'm curious to know how big of a lie that is. And
exactly.
Anyway, I'm not too happy if we keep going down this road of Jedi trying to like hide and be corrupt in a sense, right? So
yeah,
we'll see. He also says, I remember from the Vader comic, he had a green crystal and took it to the cave on Mustafar because the relation had to be placed very strong in the dark side. Just remember, it was more of a ritual type scene, and he struggled to bleed it, whereas Osha's anger and hate made it bleed straight away. I didn't mind it and thought the scene was cool, saying that the scene would have been more warranted for me if we got more of Osha's dark side teased throughout the series. I feel like she was quite a positive person throughout this and turned rather quickly. We saw Anakin, on the other hand, struggle for at least 2 movies. Yeah, good point. I think the crystal changing. I do think the crystal changing. I do remember that book with Vader doing that, and I feel like there was a little more detail about that versus like when Kylo did it,
or even when what's his name in Jedi Survivor,
right? Yeah,
because he just was like, and it
worked. And I think the point is that it may be easier for some and difficult for others.
Probably.
It really depends on how much hatred, how much how much your emotion contributes to it. I mean, Osha obviously had a lot of emotion because she just found out her mom died. He was the reason.
Yeah, which even with that, she did not feel like an angry person throughout the series. So I will agree with that. That all of a sudden she
Totally agree.
tempered is like, whoa, either she was a pressure cooker and that was the straw that broke the camel's back, or
Yeah.
it, but with regards to even Anakin having trouble making a crystal bleed, we can just attribute that back to the fact that there is good in Anakin still.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, he's evil.
That's true.
He still has a pure love for Padme.
That's
He
true.
still has a pure love for his unborn child that he thinks is dead. So you could see that as a redemptive quality with the fact that he struggled so hard to make that crystal bleed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So does that mean Osha isn't redeemable?
Would you say does that mean
Well,
she is
I'm just,
redeemable?
no, I'm just saying because it took Anakin such a hard time to make that crystal bleed, but with Osha it was fairly easy. Does that mean Osha isn't as redeemable as Anakin?
That's possible. It's definitely possible.
I'm just
Yeah.
throwing that out there as a question.
Yeah. And I think, I think that's the thing too is, with even with Chimere and now Osha, I feel like they're, and here we are talking about the Acolyte.
I was about to say this is like just the perfect way to kind of
Yeah, give our last thoughts, right? So,
yeah.
with them, especially there at the end when they're kind of standing there together, looking out into the water, you almost, like, if you were just to drop in, you wouldn't even think they're evil.
No.
Like, one thing I was waiting for when, Chimere got unmasked and he was fighting, like, I was waiting for those Sith eyes.
I was too. That okay, that actually brings up a really, really interesting question. What gives you the Sith eyes? Because Anakin had them for like a split second and then he lost them.
Yeah.
So what
And Maul had him forever.
he had them forever. So what gives you the Sith? Even when he technically wasn't a Sith anymore, he had the Sith eyes. And technically, Palpatine didn't get the Sith eyes until after Anakin destroyed where Anakin defeated Mace Windu.
Yeah. I thought I knew. I think before I thought it was of a depiction of this of rage. Like you said, Anakin got him when he was on Mustafar, and he just went off and just brutally killed the whole Separatist council. And Maul, obviously, you kind of, I think I read this somewhere. It's like it was always this constant burning hatred that was what just gave him his burning eyes. It's just the hate, I feel like. But you're right. But Anakin didn't have them all the time. So that's the question is it because of the struggle he had still, between am I really doing what's right, or am I, just doing it for something, which is Padme kind of thing. So,
right.
Yeah, that's good but I was waiting for him. I was waiting for to see that, because you never really how much hate did Chimere really have, or is it one of them things where he's, I don't know, just a I mean, dare I say, like a disciplined Sith, just somebody that embraces it and just believes in it, but doesn't really, hate anything or seek anything. You know what I mean?
No, I think there's hatred there, because I think especially because of oh my word, I forgot her name.
May?
No. Venestra. The fact
Venestra.
that Venestra was like, you're here, and there's already speculation that a whip saber did those cuts in his back. I feel like he does have anger, but he's embraced it so much that it's just a part of who he is now at this moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, another comment on, which is not a normal one that we get, so thanks for commenting.
Yay!
This one kind of sheds a different point of view, but
Let's hear it.
and this is Lustrazor says this show is a testament to bad screenwriting. Compare it to House of the Dragon, which had many of the same themes and parallels. Every bit of dialogue and character interaction in the House of Dragon pushes the plot and characters forward. The Acolyte does not. Every scene in the House of Dragon has a logical point with hidden meanings that build not only on past episodes but future ones. The Acolyte does not. The dialogue fits each character fittingly in the House of Dragon. The Acolyte does not. Characters in the House of Dragon are very consistent in their motivations and actions. They're not in the Acolyte. These are amateur writers. They have no idea what they're doing. They need to hire experienced writers who understand how to write a screenplay. Even the whole way they depicted the bleeding crystal. If that's how that's supposed to work, Anakin should have been read in episode 2 during the slaughter of the Tuscans. The entire franchise is a huge mess. So
I don't disagree with everything they said.
yeah, sure. I think there's some merit there for sure.
Absolutely.
But I will say that the bleeding crystal, there is like Thrawn was kind of saying there too. There is a method to it.
There is.
You can't. It doesn't just turn because you are hate or all of a sudden a Sith.
You have to will it to bleed,
and you have to physically be holding
Yeah.
and touching it. That's why Anakin never exposed his crystal and turned his saber red. So in every instance that we've seen so far, the crystal has to be touched by the dark side user, and
it has been.
And you have to bend it to your will, basically. Yes.
Yeah,
so
force it.
So yeah, not thanks for commenting. I think look, there's a lot of people out there that feel that way, though. I think this was definitely a series that was split down the middle with the fandom. I think a lot of people liked it. I think a lot of people didn't like it.
I disagree with the fact that I think, especially the dialogue, is not well written.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things, and I'm not a good writer. Like I think I still have a lot to learn. And that's really weird coming from somebody who teaches media script writing as an adjunct professor. I don't claim to be a great writer. I don't. One of the favorite pieces of advice that I saw at a TED Talk from, I can't remember who it was, but it was somebody who wrote a lot for Pixar.
Mm-hmm.
Said something that changed my life forever. It's whenever you write for an audience, you give them 2 + 2, not 4.
Okay. And what does that mean?
So what that means is you give enough to your audience to understand the subtext of what's going on.
Oh, right.
So they feel intelligent. You don't just say what's happening.
Yes.
What's really happening is shown through your actions, not through your words. The words just add that subtext, that irony, that concealed truth, whatever you want to layer it. Mm-hmm. Now, while in theory that seems easy, in reality, that is very difficult to do.
Yes. Yeah, sure.
That's why there's an Oscar for Best Screenplay. Agreed.
And here's my feeling about writing, if anybody cares.
I do.
Okay, so I agree with you. Like in all aspects of filmmaking, production that I've been through my entire career, I will always say writing is on the bottom of my skill list. I'm not a writer. I will never claim to be a writer. I do feel like I'm not a bad storyteller.
You're not. You're a good storyteller. You're a great storyteller.
Yeah, I feel like I can figure out what a story is and how to tell that story, but to write a dialogue like that, yeah, that's not me. I've never been a good writer, even like in school and writing English papers and stuff like that. I
Oh,
struggled.
oh,
Yeah, struggled. So I have the utmost respect for writers, and that is one thing I will rarely criticize, because, to be honest,
yeah.
when I like if I am watching something and I think, "Ooh, that is rough," then it's probably really bad, because again, I have a very large spectrum in appreciation for writing, and the reason why is because the I I, I really try to really hone in on not exactly what the characters are saying,
Yes.
but the context of the situation, the context of the era, the context of the time zone of the world that they live in. Like, there's no same dialogue in this world, right? Like, people like me and you sitting here in Kentucky talking, two people in Florida aren't going to talk like us,
No, they're not.
right? So you have to kind of broaden it out, in my opinion.
Oh
And
yeah, absolutely.
I see this comment. I totally get it, that you can say that, you definitely can say there's better writers maybe on House of the Dragon, but House of the Dragon is set in a different time period. It's set in a different world. You can't, that dialogue doesn't work in Star Wars, in my opinion.
It
Right?
doesn't. It doesn't, but I understand what they're saying in the sense of the dialogue in House of the Dragons. There has maybe been one time where I was like, "Ooh,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, oh, that line didn't land right." And unfortunately, during Acolyte, there were a number of times where I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
it just didn't feel right." Now, but I do agree with you. House of Dragon, and also you have to consider the audience, right? Whenever,
Correct.
whenever you
Correct.
write anything, you have to consider your audience. People watching House of Dragons, Game of Thrones.
My 10-year-old isn't watching House of Dragons.
No, they're for an older audience. They're for a more shrewd audience. There's a lot
Yes.
more nuance that goes into it. And frankly, there are parts of it. Sorry for you who are lovers of them and didn't read the books. There are parts of it that some people miss because they haven't read the books. They don't know the history. And
Right.
there
Right.
are
Right.
parts
Right.
of it where, like, because I I'm trying to go through the Song of Ice and Fire books, which is the Game of Thrones books,
Right.
and I'm trying to get through them. And my husband, he has read all of them, so he feeds me all this history. He's even read, like, I guess it's the equivalent of the oh my word, my brain is just so fried. What is the name? The Silmarillion. Basically the equivalent of the Silmarillion for Lord of the Rings. Uh, he read the equivalent for Song of Ice and Fire, which is like a history book, and it's told from different points of view. So you, it leaves up to your interpretation as to whether those points of view are accurate or not. And so he was talking that through with me, and it's just like, wow, there's so much of this TV. So there's a lot more context within it,
Yeah.
a lot more supplemental reading, which, once again, highly debated topic whether or not that should be attributed. Side note, if you do want to read a really, 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 really good Game of Thrones series that isn't too steamy, um, Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, highly recommend. It's my favorite series that George wrote that is it within the whole Game of Thrones timeline.
It
Just
is. Okay.
throwing that out there in case you want to read something that isn't too steamy. I'm sure you all know what I mean by that. Anyway, I do agree, though, with the fact that you cannot take the context of that and put it in the context of this. I know I used it as a comparison, but I just used it as a comparison of, I'm watching two things right now, and I'm watching one thing work, one thing not work as well. And while I think the dialogue and writing is a part of it, dialogue is one of the hardest things to write.
Yes.
Because if you were to sit in a cafe and listen to how people talk, that would not work on screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It straight up wouldn't. So you're like, okay, well, what will work on stream? On streaming platforms or film. Oh, something a little more refined. Well, not really, because
Yeah.
then people are like, no, nobody talks like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dialogue is one of the hardest things to write. So I'm with you
Agreed.
in the fact of when I'm watching something, and even if I cringe, I'm like, well, that's hard to write. So
Yeah.
off to the side.
And I always look at it as, when I say the writing, I mean, yes, I think dialogue is a part of the writing, but I'm
Of
also
course.
thinking, I'm also looking at, is the story connecting? Is it meaningful? Is this
Yeah.
scene meaningful? Does this scene come back and tell us a bigger story later? Is so in that aspect, like again, we go back to like Andor or Obi-Wan,
Mhm.
which I feel like are really good series that Star Wars put out. Like Andor, obviously, to my opinion, the best one, and
Yes.
like you have great storytelling going on. You have great connectivity through the series, but you also have really. I mean, did you think the dialogue was good in Andor?
I thought it was better.
Better? Yeah.
There were a couple of times in Andor where I was like, but here's the other thing too. When it comes to like story in general, um, I've read several books about screenwriting, one of which is actually called Story by Robert McKee. If you're somebody who's very into screenwriting or wants to learn a little bit about screenwriting, highly recommend. Hashtag not sponsored. But one of the tips that Robert says in his thing, because obviously the movie is whenever you write a screenplay or even a TV show, you're highlighting specific parts of your main character's life. You're not telling their entire life. Otherwise, we would see them go to bed. We'd watch them sleep. We see them get up. Like, we'd see the whole thing. You're picking highlights throughout their life. One of the biggest pieces of advice he gives in his book is when you write a scene, you look at your characters in your scene, your main characters, protagonist, antagonist, even supporting characters. They each have a positive and negative charge. At the beginning of the scene, they start out positive, negative. At the end of the scene, they switch in some way. Whether it's
Mm-hmm.
emotionally, mentally, whatever it is, they switch in some way. If they do not do that in that scene, is that scene even worth keeping?
Right. Right.
You look at Andor, and I have to watch it again for like my fourth or fifth time, but I feel like if not every, almost every single scene in there, the main characters change. They go from positive to negative or negative to positive
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in one aspect at least. Therefore, that
Mm-hmm.
scene is important. I agree that in Acolyte, there are some cases where that doesn't happen. Therefore, it feels like the scene is not needed.
Right. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that's enough. Like, once again, I'm not trying to like tear something apart. I still respect Acolyte. I still love the fact that they took the risk in creating something in a different timeline. I wish
Yeah.
they took more risks, but that's something else that when it comes to story is so important. And that's what helps your character goes on a journey is you're guaranteed that they're changing in every single scene in one way or another.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, that was a bit of a tangent. I don't think anybody wanted a lesson today on how to write a
No.
scene.
No, no, but I think that's important. I mean, I think it's important to get a perspective of it. I think, we always, that's the thing is it's one of them things where this world of storytelling in the motion picture medium, it's so subjective.
It really is. And
You
that's
know what I
the
mean?
frustrating part.
It is very frustrating.
Because there's a movie you might have like for example, I think The Secret of Walter Mitty should have won a lot more Oscars. Like I think it should have I think it should have won Best Picture, frankly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's so subjective.
Yep. Yep. There was a lot of movies I can think of in the past. I'm like,
Right?
how did that not win any Oscars? Like, how did that actor not win an Oscar? How did this didn't win Best Screenwriting? And it's
Leonardo DiCaprio's life story.
yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's amazing. the way someone interprets one script and another person completely interprets it something else, and so but that's the world we live in. And again, you don't have to like everything, you don't have to love everything, you don't have to hate everything. It's like find what you and what you get drawn to, and that's why I'm like, to be honest, that's why I'd love what they call mindless action movies.
You know what? There is a great place for a mindless action movie. There absolutely is a place for it. Like there is. There are
Yeah.
sometimes where you're like, you know what? I just want to watch something where I don't have to think.
Yeah, and I just get entertained by the action. I mean,
Exactly. Like,
but I will tell you one movie that was you sometimes forget because it's so old now. You sometimes forget how for one, action packed it is. But you want to talk about dialogue and story? Freaking Terminator 2.
Terminator 2 is underrated.
It is one of the best movies out there, in my opinion. I mean,
underrated.
It was actually on TV last night. And I just happened to turn it on while I was just working. And man, I mean, that whole thing where, I don't know if you remember, but like when John and Arnold, the Terminator, where they just fixed the car.
Yes.
And he was teaching him how to do a high five. And you heard Linda Hamilton's dialogue about that Terminator will never hit him, will never be mad at him. With all the would-be fathers that came. It's like this great dialogue about being a father figure is a Terminator. And it's like, man, that is good. That is so good.
Good.
Anyway.
So good.
Again, tangent. Okay. So, all right. Let's maybe put in
at the end of the day, this is the thing. At the end of the day, you see the credits, and the reason why the credits last so long is so many people spent their time on this project. Now, are all of them proud they spent time on this project? Maybe, maybe not. And I just mean this project is like any movie. There are people out there saying, I wish I didn't work on this, but I needed the money, whatever. Point is, even though you may not like it, you should still respect it, because a lot of people put their time, their energy, their passion into this project. So while it's all subjective, at the end of the day, you should still respect it.
Yes. I agree.
Which is why I respect Rogue One, but I'm still kind of on the fence about it at this point. I'm leaning towards not liking it.
But you're pretty high on Andor, though, right?
Oh, I'm very high on Andor. I really love Andor. I think Andor was brilliantly done.
Yeah, and I do want to go back and rewatch that. I thought about that the other day. Okay, so I'm sure it'll come up again, but right now, I mean, where does a kind of Acolyte land for you? But like compared to the other shows.
I respect it. I respect the risks that they took, but I feel like they didn't take enough risks.
Okay.
I was really hoping for more Sith lore.
Yeah.
I hope we get that. I hope we get more of it in season 2. But I just don't think, because the Jedi are not perfect, and the thing is that the lie that she told to me didn't hold enough gravitas to warrant the consequences.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I don't feel like enough risks were taken. I still respect it. Even though I'm starting to see what my husband's saying about the fighting style, I still love the fighting style. I still love the fact that they are worn out, but because they're using the Force, they're so worn out with these fights. I love the fighting. I love the art. I love the practical effects. I thought there were a lot of twists, and I mean, she was right. It's not what we thought it was about. I don't put it very high on my favorite list, but I do give it a lot of respect points for trying to do something different.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I think what it comes down to me is, I'm glad we finally went into a different era. I'm glad
Yes.
we're finally expanding the galaxy and we're expanding the timeline. I totally appreciate that. And there's definitely characters I liked a lot. Saul I liked a lot.
Love Soul.
I liked Jackie a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the Stranger. I liked Chimera a lot.
I like him a lot too.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely characters that I gravitated to, and I think for me, where I think it missed the mark was definitely in the definitely in the and again, maybe this was unintentional or intentional, but I saw too much of the Jedi, not enough of the other side, which is what we were led to believe that we were going to get. And I think the opportunity was there. I just think it was missed a little bit.
I don't think they were
Because,
willing to take that leap.
yeah, because the most interesting scenes and characters I thought were around Chimera and Osha. And, I don't know. It's just,
Oh, it's
and
funny.
the fact that, and I just, the jet, like, trust me, I'll be the first to say, I want a show in this era or something that is about the Jedi, but not like this. Because I was thinking too the other day. I was like, I don't know if you remember, but like when you watch when I watched the prequels when they first came out, late early 2000s, there was this kind of we already had this vision from the original trilogy that the Jedi were just larger than life, and you don't kill a Jedi, like Anakin says in episode 1, like no one can kill a Jedi. Like it's like that's what that belief was. With these guys were protectors,
Yeah.
and guardians, and you just didn't mess with them. You couldn't take them out. And so I remember you skipped to episode 3. And I remember that scene in the trailer and then in the movie where Mace comes in. Those 4 masters come in Palpatine's office, light their sabers, 4 of them. And you're like, man, look at that. Like, how would you even think about fighting that? Like that is this aura of just, mastery. It's like, there's no way I'm going to do. And of course, he takes him out because then you're like, oh my God, how powerful is Palpatine, right? So, but I just feel like in this show, it kind of got swept away a little bit. Like they're not this thing you're thinking about. They're actually this. And now I know there's some good ones there. Like Indara ended up, to me, was really good. I know she made a bad decision at the end, but I feel like, and I don't want to sit there and say like they're saying that the whole Jedi Order is like that. I mean, this is there's only 4 of like tens of thousands of Jedis they had, or so. I'm sure they're all. Anyway, I didn't really care so much, to be honest, about that story. I cared more about Chimera's story, and I feel like that's what a lot of people wanted to see, and we're disappointed because we didn't see that. So
Agreed. And I hope we get that in season 2 because all of the other characters that we know are kind of dead.
yes, right. Well, yeah,
Spoiler alert. Spoiler.
They're all gone.
Dead. Bye bye. But
Bye-bye.
it's just so funny for you to mention that because one of my friends, he was in the hospital because he had to go undergo a procedure. And it didn't really go so well, so he had to stay longer, yada yada yada. So he said, "Is Acolyte work worth watching?" I'm like, I think it's worth it, especially because it's something different. You should experience it. Next day, when I binged it, I'm like, "Wow, you were bored? Okay, what did you think?" He's like, "Yeah, alone in a hospital. I'm bored." Uh, and he said, "I really liked the Sith." Why didn't they do the Sith? And I was
Right,
like, I
right.
don't know, buddy. I wish they did the Sith too.
Agreed. Yeah.
Because that's so, I think it's because we know so little about it. Now, to go back to what you were saying about how those four Master Jedi were struck down by Palpatine, I think it's also at that point in age, especially when you read the books, there's a huge sense of pride among the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that pride
Mm-hmm.
eventually leads to the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think they were blinded by that a bit, but I don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to see a season 2 though. I think,
Yes.
I think if it goes down the right path, I think it could be really, I mean, you're obviously hinting that it's going to be, Plagueis is going to be involved and Yoda is going to be involved. So, I think it's got potential still.
Absolutely.
But hey, if you don't want to do it, then just go make a Knights of the Old Republic show. That's
Oh,
right. I know you want one bad. So
I do. Like, what more do you want? There's not only the Jedi Academy, there's the Sith Academy. What more do you
I
want?
know, right? Yes. Yes.
Like, it's right there.
Yeah.
It's right there. Do it. Do a Bane trilogy for Pete's sake.
Yeah. Totally.
Or something. I don't know. Do something. It's right there.
Okay, so the Acolyte has concluded, and the next show on the horizon is Skeleton Crew.
Nice segue.
Yes, and that is now coming December 3rd. So pretty
far.
long way from now, actually. I mean,
That's so far away.
it's a pretty good gap of shows here for Star Wars. And there's not really a lot in the middle because, there's not a movie coming out or anything like that. It's just
Watch they drop Knights of the Old Republic or something next week.
there is Star Wars Outlaws coming.
There's Outlaws, but you know what I mean. Watch them drop just something random.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a bad idea. So they did release the name, the release date as well as 5 images from the show.
Yes.
You can go on StarWars.com. It's on there now. The first picture has the group of the kids and Jude Law, who plays Jod. We had his full name now, Jod Nawud.
Oh Lord, you say that 3 times.
Jod Nawud. So, and then the other kids, basically, you have Wim, and you've got KB, you've got Neil, and you got Fern. Mm-hmm. So those are your 4 kids that Jude Law's character is going to apparently help. And there's a picture of him, and then there's a picture of Neil and Win. There's another picture of them all together with the droid that's on the poster, because there was a poster. It's funny too because Star Wars hasn't officially sent the poster, but there was this leaked poster that came out, which is odd because it has all of the kids on there, but it doesn't have a picture of Jude Law, except that he's really small walking with them, like a silhouetted shot of them. And so it's really weird that he's not the prominent character. It's obviously the 4 kids.
He gonna die?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so, but do you see the picture?
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Yeah. So it's got this droid. Mm-hmm. And then you can see the silhouette of them walking, but then you have the 4 kids, and you have skulls. It totally looks like a Goonies.
That was the first thing that actually came to my head.
It's like a Goonies poster.
Goonies or even Indiana Jones.
Or Indiana Jones, correct, yeah. So, anyway. Like you, we kind of talked before, it's I have no idea what to expect from the show yet.
Looking at that poster, I still have no idea what to expect from the show.
Yeah, I don't know what... They're obviously going to come across something. I just don't know what it is yet. the rumor out there is that Jude Law's character is possibly a Jedi in hiding.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this takes place during Ahsoka and The Mandalorian. Like, that's that time period. So it's going to tie into that somehow. Now, this is it's not a Filoni and Favreau directed or written show, but it's their kind of executive producing this. So it will kind of fall into that family, I feel like, but I don't know. I will say, if my expectation for Acolyte was here, my expectation for Skeleton Crew right now is probably here.
Same for me. Same for
me. Okay.
Like, I just because, and I think there's something beautiful about that. You know?
True. Yeah.
It's
no fear. Just like
no fear. It's just let's just
see what happens.
Let's just do it.
Maybe it's a mindless action show.
And if it's a mindless action show, nothing wrong with that. No,
I'm good with that. But we'll start finding out December 3rd. I feel like okay, so this kind of segues into some news here.
Yes.
D23, which is the big Disney convention.
Yes.
Is happening August 9th through the 11th, so next weekend.
Whoa, okay.
I'm going to throw out a prediction that we'll get our first teaser trailer of the Skeleton Crew then.
If we don't, I'll be disappointed.
Okay. And I say that because, and let me just tell you I had it pulled up here. There's a lineup that Lucasfilm, is going to be at D23 a lot more than they were at Comic-Con, which we'll go through here in a second too. But there's a Lucasfilm booth going on there. There's a Disney Plus pavilion. So they've got on Friday they've got ILM stagecraft. So they're gonna the big thing there. They're gonna do a Lego Star Wars thing. Disney Entertainment Showcase, which is going to be a big thing for Disney stuff. But when is the Star Wars one? It's conversation with Lucasfilm Animation. I think it's during the Disney Showcase, which is the big one. That's from 7 to 9 p.m. on Friday, August 9th. So I think that's where it's going to be a sneak peek. It says a sneak peek at certain upcoming projects, never before seen footage, surprise announcements. That's going to be the big thing. So
yeah,
I think there'll be some Lucasfilm stuff there, and I think they'll show the trailer there. Now, problem is they might show a trailer there and not release it to the public though. So be ready for that. I'm telling you.
Somebody whip out your phone, leak it.
Yeah, I know, exactly. All right, so San Diego Comic-Con happened last weekend.
Yes.
And Lucasfilm, the only presence they had really was a panel there, on a publishing panel.
Yes.
And here are some of the books that are coming our way. There is an Acolyte book coming. Have you seen any of this, Hannah?
I have not. I purposely, for the purposes of this podcast, I've tried to stay away from Comic-Con news.
Gotcha. That's right. Okay, so there's a book coming called The Acolyte Wayseeker.
Okay.
Yeah. And this takes place, and this is about, it's written by Justina Ireland, who's a big High Republic novelist right now.
Yes.
And she is writing this book centered around Venestra.
I always wondered how she became so high in the Jedi when she was Wayseeker.
And this is 20 years before the Acolyte.
Interesting. So
on the cover that they have here right now, but it's not final, but there is a picture of Venestra and Master Endara.
Okay.
So there's that. That's coming, and that is coming May 6th next year, so still a ways away. There's also an Acolyte comic, a one-shot comic of Kelnaka.
Yes.
That'll be out.
Okay.
That is coming. And then the other thing, there's a Art of Star Wars Outlaws that's going to be out. Those books are really cool. And then there's a whole slew of new comics that they talked about. The biggest one that they're starting off with they're kicking off with, which I'm not sure how I feel about this, but it's called The Battle of Jakku. They're doing a comic series called Insurgency Rising, and it's basically the Battle of Jakku. Now, I will say I kind of think it'll work because this seems like it's more centered around Luke, Leia, and Han during the Battle of Jakku.
Okay.
Which we haven't really seen before.
No, we've only seen
other stories, right?
We've seen them through Aftermath.
Like Aftermath, and then the Battlefront 2 game.
Yes.
With Inferno Squad.
Yes.
So anyway, so Insurgent Rising #1, that is coming out in October to start off that series, so that actually is really interesting.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of High Republic continuations of their comics and stuff like that. There's a new Star Wars Encyclopedia book, updated one coming out.
Of course.
And that's pretty much roughly it. So that's your publishing panel code. Now the big publishing thing that I got to bring up.
Yes.
This is pretty freaking awesome, Hannah.
Uh-oh.
Because I just saw it today.
Uh-oh.
For some reason, it wasn't announced there, but it just got announced somewhere else.
Okay.
I guess it just got announced. Read an article about it. A new book trilogy coming. A new novel trilogy coming. Called. Well, the first book is called. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The whole series is called Reign of the Empire. First book called The Mask of Fear, which comes out February 25th, 2025. They don't have the names. They don't have the names of the other two books, but the next two books will be spring of 26 and then spring of 27. And this is described as a new book trilogy. Reign of the Empire has been announced. Drawing inspiration from projects like Andor, this series will follow the earliest days of the rebellion and the political machine needed to fight the Galactic Empire. The first book, Mask of Fear, will be written by Alphabet Squadron scribe Alexander Freed. It will follow the first year of the Empire's reign. The trilogy will focus on Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, Saul Guerrera, and a new cast of characters.
Shut up and take my money.
I feel like we've been asking about for this for a while now. And
shut up and take my money.
I'm so pumped about this. Rebecca Rowanhorse, who wrote Resistance Reborn, will be writing the second book.
Okay.
And Fran Wild, who wrote a portion of From a Certain Point of View, will be the third book.
So what you're saying is, as soon as those books are released, you and I are finishing them within the first 48 hours, and then in the first 72 hours, we will record Beyond the Saga.
48 hours might be tough, but yes, we'll get there.
You know what I mean? Like,
I know. I will turn this on like constant in the car, and I will dive into this big time.
Don't tell my bosses cough you, but I will
Yes.
listen to this during work.
Yes, totally. I'm telling you this.
Permission to do so.
And I'm gonna be so bummed that we're gonna wait a year for the next one though. That's because I feel like Aftermath. I have to look. I don't think Aftermath took that long to come out, did it?
I read them kind of back to back, so I didn't have to wait.
See, I remember listening to the first one, and then I was like, I didn't think I had to wait that long I'm gonna look it up real fast.
As you see, I was so excited I had to throw my hair up in a bun. Like
You did. I saw that. Yeah, that's good. I just saw this news right before we recorded. And I was like,
oh
and
wow.
and it came out a couple days ago, the article. So I was like bummed that I didn't see it.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Okay, so Star Wars Aftermath came out September 4th, 2015.
Okay.
And then Life Debt, which was the second book, came out, what'd I say?
2014 was the first
September?
one. Uh-huh.
So the second book came out July 2016.
That's not terrible.
So not quite a year.
It's not terrible.
And then Empire's End came out February 2017. See, it wasn't a full year, so it was like 10. It's like terrible. 7 months or something like that. So anyway, maybe they'll do that for this. But anyway, no, and it looks like the cover has already been laid out, which is so cool. It's the Senate chamber, and it's got one of those pods out there, and you see Mothma standing there with like this light on her. Freaking can't wait, man. That's gonna be awesome. So I think we'll end it there.
That sounds good.
That's all the really news that's out there right now. Of course, like I said, D23 will be out next Friday. So I don't know. I will say, just to give everybody some fair warning, Hannah may not be joining us these next few weeks.
Sorry.
She's got a lot going on. She's got a brutal schedule this month, and I'm very sorry about that, Hannah. But
I'm sorry about it too. I would love.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about you having to work so much.
Oh yeah, that. Oh well,
there's a lot going on, and
let's sleep.
Yeah, and I might, I may find, me and Martin over at the Mandalore, we're on a break because Skeleton Crew's not here for a few months, so I might.
He's not doing anything, right?
He can come in. He can step in.
I stepped in for you. There's no reason why he can't step in for me.
That's right. See, that's right. So we'll be here, but we're talking. We're gonna definitely get some Beyond the Sagas done here next week. So we'll be able to roll some of those out. We got a lot to catch up on there. Of course, some comics. We'll be doing a couple novels that we've read and want to catch up on. So we'll do that. But then, we got some other content coming, and we'll keep going. Whatever news comes out. I mean, it's gonna be. I feel like it's gonna be a little slow in a way these next few weeks and months, but.
Watch, this next month is going to be the most jam-packed Star Wars news month we've ever had.
Yeah, well, I feel like they should have dropped the Outlaws like right now, because I think everybody's itching to get it and play it, but there's still 30 days left till we get it. So it's like, oh man, I'm so pumped for that. Can't wait.
It's going to be awesome.
All right. About to say we already did comments, so I think we're good. So everybody, thank you as always for joining us, especially our patrons, for your support. If you'd like to check out our tiers, Inside the Force on Patreon, and of course YouTube is where you find all of our extra shows there. We did our commentary for Rogue One, so we've gotten, how many did we do now? 3, 4, 5? 5? Yeah, we did 5. Yeah. 5 brand new commentaries up there. Episodes 1, 2, 3. We did Solo. We did Rogue One. Oh, I did want to mention, Hannah. Just a little thought.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing I noticed, and I don't think I've ever said this to you. I don't think I've ever said it anyway. But when you go to StarWars.com,
yes,
they've got the good banner up there where you can click on videos, which usually goes to their like Star Wars show. Films, series, and then games. So they got it all, if you go on the series now, since there's so many, they used to have these really big, wide banners of the shows and they were just kind of stacked on each other, right? Well, now they've got it kind of cleaned up, and they're the posters. You know, you can click on each poster to go to the show. So you can separate them. Like right now, it has all the series listed, or you can click on live action and just see the 6 live action shows that they've done. They've got 8 animation shows that they've done, and then they've got a section for Lego Star Wars, which is those specials they've done.
Yes.
Lately. Now, here's the thing: when you go under films, which we're doing our commentaries on,
right?
Same thing. They've got all the posters there. But before, they've only had 11 posters up. But there's actually a 12th movie. Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Oh.
Was a movie, right?
We have to do it.
I've always seen just 11 posters up here. So I'm always like, and if you go on Disney Plus, you know how they have like the timeline ordered, like that movie's never there. It's just the Clone Wars, like the series. And like somewhere in like series and specials, you can find it. But guess what? They added the poster now as one of the films. So there's 12 films listed now.
I believe it looks like we have to backtrack and watch the Clone Wars, which actually, fun fact.
Yeah.
I've never seen.
You've never seen the Clone Wars movie?
I've never seen the Clone Wars movie.
What? That's the introduction of Ahsoka.
I've never seen the Clone Wars movie.
Oh, we're definitely doing it now. So, but I thought about we'll still go chronological order, and then we'll just do a special edition or a bonus commentary. We'll do Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Well, now we have to.
So now, wait a minute. How you can't really do a commentary without watching it because
true.
You'll be like trying to figure out what's going on while you're talking. You know, it's like,
hold up, I'm watching the movie.
So you're gonna have to watch the movie before we do the commentary.
Let me know when we're doing it, and when we figure out the schedule, I promise I'll watch it before.
It'll be a little ways probably.
Stop talking. I want to watch this movie.
Yeah. No, because I remember I'll repeat this on the commentary, I'm sure, but like I remember because it came out in 2008, right? So, you know, it's been 3 years. 3 years after episode 3.
Yep.
And I completely remember Chad Perkins. You know Chad Perkins, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I worked with him. I worked with Chad.
Yeah. So, you know, we were watching a bunch of movies back then, and I remember literally out of the blue, like just it was August, I believe, August 2008. I remember some August weekend. We just so happened, we're like, hey, let's go catch a movie somewhere. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. And I started looking at the list, and I was like, wait, it says Star Wars. Star Wars: The Clone. What is this? You know, because there wasn't really a big internet boom back then, still, right?
Yeah, and that advertised unless you watched Cartoon Network.
Correct. And so, I think I got online or something, and I saw the poster, and I'm like, oh my god, it's Yoda, it's Obi-Wan. I'm like, what the heck's going on here? It's like we got to go watch this thing, and we watched it. We went to the theater and watched. I mean, I think we were the only ones in the theater, and. And we watched it, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is crazy that they did that. Like, that is so weird. And then all of a sudden I learned about the show coming, and, you know, so that's how I got into it. And I'm like, that was so random. But anyway, I did see it in the theater.
The way I got into Clone Wars was my sister and I were bored one summer, and we already watched Avatar: The Last Airbender. So, and I was, at that point, I was about to become a junior in high school, and we just got cable. We didn't have cable before I was a junior in high school. And I'm actually very grateful that we didn't have cable. Up at that minute, we all of a sudden were like, oh, freedom, all these channels. And we were switching through, and we got to Cartoon Network, and all of a sudden I was like, wait, is that Yoda? There's a whole cartoon series about Star Wars? This is going to be dumb. Audrey, do you want to watch this? Let's just watch this, and we'll make fun of it. But after the first episode, we're like, where are the rest of the episodes? Oh my god!
I know, right?
That's how we got sucked into the Clone Wars.
Yeah, yeah. Because there was a couple things. There's definitely some dialogue. You talk about dialogue. There's some dialogue issues in the movie.
Just so happened the episode we watched was the first episode with Yoda and the clones.
Yeah.
and that's what sucked me. And I'm like, I'm ready. Where are the rest of them? Where are the rest of them?
Yeah, which was very good. Yep. Called Ambush. Yeah, I love that episode. But the movie, you know, if you saw the movie first, like you can kind of be like, you know, because you remember, I don't know if you remember, like Ahsoka wasn't really liked that much at
She
first.
wasn't. I did meet her, by the way.
You met Ashley?
I met Ashley.
Yes.
Super duper nice.
She's a sweetheart. No, she's totally sweetheart.
Oh, she's amazing. But yeah, no, she wasn't liked. But the thing is, though, is I think I benefited from the fact that I didn't watch the movie first. I watched the Clone Wars first, and I absolutely fell in love with Ahsoka right away. I haven't seen the movie, so I can't say this, but I feel like a lot of times when people see the movie first and then the Clone Wars, they have a negative view of Ahsoka, and it goes positive once they see the Clone Wars series.
Agreed. Yeah, no, agreed.
So
I think it was.
I think I benefited from that, where I didn't see the movie. I just jumped in the Clone Wars, and I loved Ahsoka.
Yeah, no, agreed. It's just I will say that definitely the movie is definitely geared more towards a younger audience.
Oh yeah, of course.
And, as you know, Clone Wars ages as the seasons go on, right?
It absolutely does.
Yeah. So you had to capture those kids that really did fall in love with Ahsoka, and that's why they love her, because they grew up with her, you know, throughout the years. So they did it right, but it was, the action, the storyline is just, it's really good. It's an introduction to Asajj too. That's how Asajj was introduced.
Yes, that is true.
So, it was pretty awesome. So we will do that eventually. We will do that.
Love it.
All right. As usual, Hannah, we always say it's going to be a short one, but
it's not. Yeah, before I was like, so we're only talking about Comic-Con and our reaction, so it's going to be short, right? Nope.
No.
Never is.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging with us, everybody. We will see you next week. Hope you guys enjoy the news out there, and we'll see what comes of Star Wars at D23 next week. Thank you, Hannah. As always, get some rest.
Thank you, Dave. As always, I hope you get rest as well.
I got kids. I can't really rest.
I got a fur baby. Is that much? Oh, well, I take that back.
Yeah, I got plenty of fur babies. I got 2 fur babies too. So I got 4 kids.
You got 4?
No. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care. May the Force be with you.